3 out of 4 voters agree that Congress hasn't done much this year. This includes 50% who say they have been very unproductive. And guess what? The public's right. Congress hasn't been productive. In fact, this Congress, with Republicans in charge of the House and Democrats in charge of the Senate, is on track to be the least productive in history. 142 bills passed into law so far. That's fewer than even the last Congress at this same point, and they had set a record for inaction themselves. And it's a lot less productive than the most famous do-nothing Congress of all time, the one Harry Truman ran against in 1948.
The country can't afford another Republican Congress.
That do-nothing Congress actually pushed through more than 900 bills into law. So what does it mean for the midterms this year? Well, Americans are divided on who should control Congress. Our polling shows that in both the House and the Senate, there is a virtual tie over which party they want in charge, with Republicans holding a slight edge.
I was told never interrupt somebody, okay? It is quiet in the nation's capital at the moment. A serene peace has descended on the basin as senators have taken their well-earned vacations as they have done everything possible to work as hard as they can to solve the ills of society. So how can we not insist that they just relax? Wow, dripping sarcasm. Let us now venture inside the Beltway with Newsmax chief political columnist and White House correspondent John Gizzi. John, always good to talk to you, my friend.
Always good to be here, Ed.
Gotta love that wonderful bit of sarcasm here that gets us started. Let's talk about these races here, as you have noted on Newsmax.com. You've noted 3 states, actually. You said there's no must-watch race in Missouri, but you started out with Kansas, which you are calling among the most potent of Tea Party contenders. Tell us about it.
Well, Milton Wolfe, who is a physician and, are you ready for this?
I'm ready.
A distant cousin of President Obama, is the Tea Party-backed conservative Republican challenger to Senator Pat Roberts, whom I remember when he first was elected to the House in 1980, the year Ronald Reagan was elected president. Well, his issue primarily is that Senator Roberts, after all these years in Washington, only rents a home in the Sunflower State and has grown distant from his constituents. Dr. Wolfe would not vote to lift the debt ceiling, as Senator Roberts did, would take a harder line on spending issues. He's a Tea Party favorite. Roberts is more the establishment candidate, even though his voting record is conservative. My guess is Roberts survives this, and this will be one of the penultimate races that the Tea Party is offering this year. Why will he survive against a qualified political outsider? Well, Dr. Wolfe, it turns out, posted some pictures on his website showing that corpses and pictures of gunshot victims, and he made some humorous comments, but some people aren't seeing the humor in it when it comes to gun site victims.
Yeah, I can see that.
Victims.
Yeah, I think we can see that. That might have been a slight mistake. Let us move on then to the other 2. Michigan. We're talking here about Democratic Gary Peters and also the Republican primary. True site for action is in Washington State. Tell us about those 2.
Okay, in Michigan, the characters are set for a Senate race that is sure to be hard fought and closely written about by the national press. Carl Levin, the longtime senator from Michigan, first elected back in 1978, is retiring. Gary Peters, a Democratic House member from Oakland County, is running against him. The Republican nominee is Terry Lynn Lamb, former 2-term Secretary of State. It's a sharp contrast between conservative Republican and liberal Democrat. Mrs. Lamb styles the race as an initiative on Obamacare, wants to offer an alternative proposal after she repeals the controversial measure. Peters has voted for it all the time. Remember, Michigan has not elected a Republican senator since 1994, but this is the first time there's been no incumbent in a Senate race since 1994. So it's anyone's game.
All right, here we go now. 2 people under fire in the Obama administration. The president has stood behind both John Brennan of the CIA and Secretary of State John Kerry here. He must have felt the need to. Certainly, let's put it this way, things have not gone well in the Middle East, and there's a lot of people right now calling for Brennan's resignation.
In the 24 hours before I went to the president's surprise meeting with the press on Friday, Ed, the calls for Secretary Kerry and Directors Director Brennan's resignation were coming fast and furious, if you'll pardon the expression. Secretary Kerry under fire for being unable to sculpt a ceasefire in the Middle East. The Israeli press and some Israeli politicians, not to mention Senator Ted Cruz and Jeff Miller, chairman of the House Veterans Affairs Committee, all were saying he must go. Director Brennan, of course, is caught in the throes of the revelations that the CIA actually monitored the phone calls and private records of members of the United States Senate, notably those on the Senate Intelligence Committee. There were calls from Democratic senators for Brennan to go. He apologized, and the president made it clear Kerry and Brennan are his loyal men, and they're staying where they are.
All right.
That's what was made very clear at the Friday session.
All right, very clear. It's always good to hear when the president says that. About a minute or so that we have left here, though. Honestly, though, while he says John Brennan will survive, is the feeling going around the Beltway right now that he will survive?
For now, yes. But as they used to say in the Saturday motion pictures, stay tuned till next week. Same time, same theater.
All right. Well, as long as you didn't use same bat time, same bat channel, I was going to be very upset if you did. Well, actually, no, if you would have, I think that would have been perfect. Hey, listen, just before we let you go here, 30, 40 seconds we have left. Again, we've been discussing this again, the whole Mitt Romney idea. Once again, the Romney's in demand on the midterm campaign trail. Is he just there, though, just to keep everybody happy at this point more than running for office?
Well, remember something. He's reached the status of elder statesman little after a year and a half, as a matter of fact, after losing a heartbreaking race against President Obama. Polls now show he would defeat the president handily, and he's much in demand as a speaker and an endorser of Republican candidates. Does this translate into a third Romney for president bid next time? This reporter says no, simply because his heart certainly wouldn't be in it at this point. And second, there's a new crowd that has come up, and Republicans only twice in the 20th century turn to a past nominee for president. They normally just don't do that.
I think you're right on, Mr. Gizzi. Thank you so much, John. Always a pleasure to talk to you. Newsmax.com, where we read you, and we will talk to you again soon, my friend.
I'm looking forward to it, Ed. Thank you so much.
Thank you, John.
Bye-bye.
Next up, previewing the Mosberg Show and On Point.